Coming up next on Access Framingham, Peru, with my special guest, Lois Levick. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. My guest today is Lois Levick. Lois is a volunteer with an organization called Global Volunteers that engages short-term volunteers to help developing communities deliver essential services that every child needs in order to realize the fullness of their potential. In January 2019, Lois spent 2 weeks in Peru, teaching English to children in a small community there. What parts of the world have you visited? Please be my guest on Travels with Jack. Share your travel experience with our viewing audience. To do so, just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we would be pleased to assist with your travel to the Access Framingham studios. Now, let me welcome Lois to Travels with Jack. Lois, thank
Hello.
you.
You are very welcome.
As always, a little quick biography. Lois Levick is a resident here in Framingham and has lived here for more than 35 years. They've been collecting taxes from you a long time. Lois has 2 adult children, a son who lives in Denver, Colorado, and has 2 wonderful children, and a daughter who lives in Irvington, New York, and she also has 2 wonderful children, making Lois a proud grandmother of 4. Lois began her working career as a teacher, then moved into telecommunications, then computers, and the 2 of them merged together, the 2 technologies, so she is a specialist in telecommunications computers. Currently, Lois is a member of the Framingham Cultural Council, where she has tied in her many years as a global volunteer member with this group we mentioned earlier. And she works with global volunteers in their mission, which is to eradicate hunger, improve health, and raise IQ concentrating on children. Today, Lois shares with us her trip with a small group, I think you told me about 7 people, of fellow global volunteers to Sagrada Familia. That's the name of the big church in Barcelona, but it was Sagrada Familia, Peru.
Right, Sagrada Familia.
Sagrada, okay, my Spanish isn't too good.
No, that's
So,
perfect.
tell me, you've been a member of this organization. You told me you've done 7 trips.
I have, yes.
So tell the folks where some of them have been.
Okay, I started off in Metcalfe, Mississippi, which was another world altogether, to be honest. Been to Ecuador, Costa Rica. I've been to Ireland. I've been to Minnesota, and now and Cuba.
And Cuba.
Right.
And now to Peru.
And now to Peru.
So this volunteer work has been a combination of doing good work for young people and at the same time an opportunity to see a little bit of the world, not necessarily the way I do from the Ritz-Carlton, but you're right there on the ground.
No, it's a wonderful thing because you're part of the community when you're doing this kind of work. And it gives you a very different perspective because you're actually you're getting very close to the people and learning much more about them than you would as a tourist.
Yes. So this really is activism tourism.
I guess that's a good way to say it.
Yep, because we've had guests who have been active in Rotary, who've gone to like Puerto Rico and done home building after floods. And this, were in Peru, were you brought there because they had some kind of bad weather or something where they needed immediate help, or was this just a trip to begin working with the children there?
This is only the third group when I was there to go to Sagrada Familia. So it was a new opportunity that Global Volunteers was opening up. And the community itself is comprised of 800 abused and abandoned children.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't even know there were communities like that.
Yep. And
so you're telling me these children are not all from this area?
Well, they're from Peru.
But they're not from this community. They may have been abandoned in southern Peru, and they are sent here.
But their residence
Yep.
is now Sagrada Familia.
Really, isn't that interesting?
Right. That particular community was founded in, was it 89? Okay, 1989. And Global Volunteers looks for different places to partner.
Yep.
And this was one that they were exploring. And as I said, excuse me, please.
That's all right, have a little water.
This was the third group to go there.
And who founded the community for these children?
A gentleman named Miguel, and I
Okay.
don't know his last
That's
name right
okay.
away, to be honest. But no, he did it out of caring, and it's an amazing thing to watch and see, because these children are so respectful and so caring, and they together are a community, and they see each other as brothers and sisters, even though they came from different places.
So it's a little bit like we've had Father Flanagan's Boys Town, except this is not church related, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
Okay, and I know your organization is a
Ecumenical.
ecumenical, non-sectarian organization.
Right.
And we're going to see a map. So that's where you went to Peru. And that was your group, Global Volunteers, Partners in Development. And what is this?
I have that there because I want to show that Global Volunteers was everywhere, goes everywhere. And when we go to a particular place, the first thing that happens is we meet as a group to determine what our goals will be, what the expectations of the community will be. And this was one of our group settings right here.
Okay, so you left, I better stick with the pictures. Is this Peru?
This is Ancon, Peru.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
So we were upstairs. You saw the flags?
Yes.
Looking down. So we were on the 6th level looking down, and this is Ancon itself, which is a fishing village. And it's actually, the Incas used it as a burial ground.
Really? So it has that kind of history?
It does indeed. It does
Wow.
indeed. And you can see all these beautiful boats, the fishing boats and so forth. It was interesting to see the fishing people and how they interacted with each other. And then the people on shore were also observing this as part of the experience. Again, we're at the residence that we stayed at. So before we went to the community, I arrived on a weekend.
Yep.
We oriented ourselves, but we were in Ancon during that time.
You flew out of Boston to where?
To Miami.
And then Miami to Peru.
Exactly.
What city is?
I think we came into Lima, maybe.
Oh, Lima, okay. And then your organization arranged transportation for you?
They picked me up at the airport,
Yep.
brought me to the residence, and I arrived at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's okay, but they got you there in one piece.
Indeed, indeed. And it was really interesting, too, because I was disoriented, coming in at that time of day.
Yeah, but
so
it's
the
nice
next
they
day
met
it
you
gave
and
me a
everything.
chance.
Yep.
Well, they always do.
Oh, so they
They
put it
always
together
do.
for you? They have somebody greet you?
Yeah, Global Volunteers is they vet the programs, and they're very protective of their volunteers.
So you were very pleased with them as the overseeing organization.
Absolutely.
Oh, isn't that nice to hear?
Yep.
And where were the other 7 folks from? Were they all USA citizens or?
Well, actually, the team leader was Peruvian,
Yep.
but the others were all American.
Okay.
And it was interesting to see how we all got along. 2 of the 7 members were only there for 1 week. The others stayed on for the whole 2 weeks. In the group of 7, we had 3 medical people.
Really? Okay.
Which
Young? What kind of age groups?
About mine.
So, okay. So most of them were retired people, probably.
Pretty much.
Okay. And,
Well, actually-
what is this? I better catch you.
Yeah, well, I had that one in there because I wanted to show people. I was confronted with a sign that showed me what to do if they had a tsunami.
Oh.
And I said, oh my goodness, what's really going on here? And you can see the word tsunami in the header up there.
Just run.
You just run where those arrows are.
Tell you where to run to.
Right.
Isn't
right.
that interesting? That's a good, I've never seen that. Okay, this is what, a statue?
So, no, that's
No?
actually a person.
A live person?
That's a live
Okay.
person. So in this little area that we were staying, they had a huge plaza, and I was there on the weekend, so all the families were gathering on the weekend, and the children were playing. This gentleman was actually moving to music, and he had a water gun. I finally found out it was a water gun, which pleased me because I didn't know what he had in his hand at first, but the kids just thought it was so much fun to watch. And now I'm showing you this because I know you're in the food business.
Yep.
And my first thing was to have a pina colada, relax, watch all the things that were going on, while the others actually went on another tour.
Okay.
I was really catching up on things. But I loved the fact that I could just relax and watch all these families interacting with each other and having such a good time.
Is a matter. Oh, look at this.
Ah, now this is why I wanted to show you.
Yeah, these are all chilies and
No,
tomatoes.
no,
What?
no, no, no.
No, okay.
4,000 kinds of potatoes in Peru.
Wow.
4,000. And when I found that out, one of the children told me that. I had to have a picture, so I carry that picture with me because people won't believe that they have that many kinds of potatoes. They're not all used as vegetables, by the way.
Some for decoration, maybe.
No, well,
No?
some for wine.
Oh,
or what-
really?
Yeah. And this is, in that same area where you have the boats, you also have a beach. And this was a weekend, so the families were enjoying themselves on the beach. I chose not to do that.
This is a little buggy ride of some kind.
One of the several. You're going to see different kinds of rides. Here's another one as well. And they were just taking people around so that they didn't have to walk the whole area, but they could explore it and be taken in places. One of the pictures will come up will show that oh, here we go. These are the Incas. So there was a statue in Ancon that showed their heritage. And because it was, as I said, a burial ground for the Incas, and it was a place where they had their fishing village, this was a statue for them, dedicated to them. Part of what we did each day was we went and we met at that particular church at the end of this walkway. Since we weren't all staying together in one place.
Oh, you weren't all in the same place?
We were in Ancon at the in the same area, but we had different buildings.
Okay.
So we stayed. Most of us stayed in one building, but other people stayed at different buildings.
Were you
but
happy with the accommodations?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got
Yeah.
you. It wasn't luxury living, but it was clean.
Well, it was very clean, and it was fun to be together. It was hard sleeping.
Okay.
It was hard sleeping. But you can see that this area was very clean.
Yeah.
The people kept it clean, and that's what we saw a lot of them cleaning up the different places. And again, we have more transportation vehicles. And this one I love because this shows that he didn't want to get in there and start his car until he had a passenger, and he didn't want to use up his gas.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
he was moving that so that it could get in place and
Oh,
it'll
I
be ready.
see. I got you. In other words, he didn't want to run the engine till he had to.
Exactly.
And yet he had to stay in the queue.
That's right.
Isn't that? And so he pushed it.
He pushed it.
Well, that's
He
okay.
did.
Now this is what?
This is at night in the same area, and we had a hard time getting this picture, but you see those are little tiny cars.
Yes, I see them like
And
kids would play with.
That's exactly what they
Oh,
were
okay.
there for. They were for the children at night so that they could drive around, and the parents would, pay for that,
Oh, okay.
which was a treat.
Now the weather looks comfortable. This was January,
January, winter here, it was summer there.
so you had nice weather.
We did. Now, leaving ANCON,
Yep.
this sort of gave me a sense of what was going to happen, what I was going to see, to be honest, because we had the shanty towns on the side of the road.
Is that what we're looking at,
So
a shanty town?
You are. You're going to
Okay.
see shanty towns on the way to Ventanilla, which is where the community that we're going to be in
Okay.
was.
They look nicely painted anyway.
Well, they were communities unto themselves,
Yes.
and they had rows and rows of houses of different kinds. But as we were driving, this is what we saw. For 15 minutes to get there, this is what we saw en route. So it gave us a sense of what we were going to be confronted with or what we were going to see. The key was that we couldn't take pictures of the children the first week, but I put in a couple of pictures to show you what the facility was.
Okay.
Okay, but here we go again with the shanty town, and this is the community gathering in that tent.
At least it looks pretty clean to me.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Well, if you look at the streets downtown LA right now, and it looks good.
Right. So
Maybe
now,
your group's going to go down. You better be careful. I think they got typhoid or something.
oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right, so this is
So
a sign
now
of...
we're inside now.
Oh, we're in the community?
We're in the community. So the gates have opened.
Yep.
We're not supposed to take pictures of the children, but I could take a couple of pictures just to put some orientation here.
And they have about 800 children, you said.
They have 800 residents.
Wow.
Right, right. And the ages vary. This is a park that they call it a park. It's like a playground, but they call it a park. And, they're very happy with what they have, which I think is wonderful because, very often you go to a place that's impoverished and the people are very sad. These people seem to be very happy with the fact that somebody's caring for them. That's the key.
What were the age groups, would you say?
They had little ones, but I didn't see much of that. The group that I worked with went from 8 to 30.
To 30?
Yep.
So they considered 30 children?
Not really, but
But they were there.
They were there, and the reason I'm saying that is you're going to see a picture, and there's my older kids.
Do
over
they
there.
become like counselors?
Some of them come back to help out.
Okay.
Right.
And did you find out at all who helps finance this community of 800?
It's all donation.
Really? The government does
Does-
nothing?
Does not. Does not. The food comes from the stores of what's left over, what's they can't sell. We ate a lot of potatoes. We ate a lot of potatoes. So this is a dormitory here for a group of the kids. And then we're going to see this is where I taught. So this was on the top of a hill, and it was hard walking up and hard walking down, but it was a huge library. It wasn't a library to begin with, but we kept the doors open to keep the air circulating. And when I was inside, I could see out to see who was going to come to my classes. The key was I never knew who was going to come to my classes until I saw them at the door.
Now, go ahead. This is a church.
So now we've moved off because those were just for Sagrada Familia. We'll come back to that because I
Yep.
couldn't take those pictures until later, the second week. But now we had a weekend in between, and we went to Miraflores in Lima.
Oh, you went to Lima. Okay.
We did, and it was a delight. It was such a change for us. But this is one of the churches that I saw there that was so beautiful. And now it's going to host sequence of these that as I walked around, and they should go very quickly because they're just one picture after the other. Everywhere you went in this area, they were teaching you about the area. And they wanted you to know what this meant, what that meant, And so the walls were covered with these beautiful photographs and the text.
So what is Barranco? Is that the area you were in, or is that, I see it at the top there, Barranco.
I think that's the people who made
okay.
the pictures probably, because I don't know that.
Okay.
But it was, so then we took off and we were walking the gardens, which were beautiful.
Yeah, these look very nice.
Beautiful. And this area that
This is still Lima.
You're going to see Miraflores, Lima for quite a while, actually.
Yep. Okay, that's okay.
Because I finally could take pictures. And so we're walking across the Bridge of Love.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's called. And there you go. So this is a depiction of love. The two people, one becomes the other.
Oh, okay.
And beautiful gardens. We just really explored. One of the things that was very obvious to us, even there, was that the waters had receded quite a bit. And so when we went down, I did not climb down, but when people went down to the area where the waters would have been nourishing the ground better, they weren't. It was really very bare in some of those areas. But this was part of the walk that we took in Miraflores. Now, you see what?
I see locks.
Yes, yes. Remember I said it was the walk of love?
Oh, so they're locking?
They're locking in their love on,
okay.
on that fence, right?
I got you.
Yep, yep. I think we have one of those in Boston, too. There are a few places that they have those, but I liked it. I thought it was really pretty. And they're very, very crafty. They love to do craft things. And so this was one of the stores, and they had these little birds that were hanging in the window.
Now, back to Sagrada, the kids who were there, did you find they were also involved in creating crafts? What kind of work, if any, did the students do? I don't know what they call them, students?
Well, they're, you know, I don't know if they call them, they call them students when they're in a classroom.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're
residents.
Well, they call themselves brothers and sisters.
Okay.
That's actually what they say. She's my sister. He is my brother. That's how they see each other.
That's good.
And they love that. They love the connection that they have with each other.
I hate to minimize it. Was it kind of like summer camp in some ways, where they made different crafts and things? No. Okay.
No, they did very, very worthwhile things. And everybody participated and was expected to participate, whatever the job was.
So give me an example what you saw in some of the things the brothers and sisters developed other than going to class and studying.
Okay, when we come back to the pictures of that, we'll do
good.
more of that.
Okay, yep.
But it doesn't matter, however you want.
No, that's, I mean.
No, they had a bakery.
So they learn.
They learned different crafts. They learned how to be resourceful and how to be self-sufficient.
So they had learned how to cook, how to bake. Did they also have things like maybe auto repair as for the older kids?
They did not.
Okay.
But they, I didn't see everything they had, but we're going to see a few things when we get
Good.
back to the community after we leave Miraflores.
So look at these great costumes.
I know. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And they love posing. They love posing. One of the things about my experience was going from the community, which was very rough and tumble, if you will, to Miraflores, which was very touristy. It was beautiful, but it was a very big change in terms of what I was experiencing.
Oh, and this?
Now, this is a restaurant that you would love.
Okay.
You would love.
I always like restaurants anyway.
I know. You're in the food business, I was told. So this
Rustica.
Rustica.
Yeah.
This restaurant inside had a. It went from one end to the other with food. It was a bar, I guess, of food, and it was everything you could possibly imagine. On display, beautifully on display.
Really?
And inside, we had little compartments of tables. So you'll see, as we go in, those are statues.
Okay.
And there are lots and lots and lots of statues. And some of them are of the presidents.
Yep.
And I said, well, what about the current president? And they said, well, he has to wait to die before, he, can get, before he can get his statue there. This is inside. Now you can see on the right-hand side, that's the beginning of the food. And it goes all the way well past those flags. And
it's on the ocean.
And it was on the ocean, right. And so we were looking out this window, and we had our own little area it was beautiful.
Now, how were the prices? I'm assuming.
This is where we sat. The prices were fair.
Okay. So
They were
you didn't
fair.
find it overly expensive?
Well, I wasn't thinking so much of it, to be honest, because I was eating at the community.
Yep.
And
But I mean, a restaurant
but when
like
I went to
some-
this restaurant, you could eat as much as you wanted. So I guess the food was
But some
fairly
cities,
priced.
like you might say, we were in Paris and I couldn't get over how high the prices were
Right.
on some of the food.
Right.
Whereas you go.
I did not find that here.
Okay, good. So if one of our viewers were watching and say, that looks interesting, they could be rest assured that the prices were
We're fair.
Okay.
And the reason I say that too, look, more statues.
More statues.
Everywhere you went, they had the statues. These were the athletic
They
statues.
look pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Here we go, more
That
of
looks
the.
like Reagan, maybe. I don't know.
Well, what was really fun though for us was the fact that you could stay all day if you wanted to and just eat and eat and eat.
So it was like a continuing buffet.
It was. It was. Hello. He's telling us.
Kind of different.
Yeah. I think this is where I asked about the president, and they said he has to die first. And now these are some of my buddies.
Now, the fellow on the left, I'm assuming he's the guide, or he's from the organization?
Yes, he is,
Yep.
but he was there to transport us.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't in our team. He picked me up at the airport.
Okay.
He was a transporter, lovely, lovely man. And he didn't speak a word of English,
Oh, really? Okay.
but he had a translator unit with him.
Now, Indian market, this meaning
Inca.
type. Oh, Inca. Okay.
Right. There were several of these markets in this area that, the tourists would go to.
And what were some of the things that they promoted in these Inca Indian markets?
Well, they had a lot of things to hang on the wall, maybe.
Tchotchkes.
I guess so.
Okay.
Clothing,
Yep.
pieces of clothing.
Oh.
I did not buy a lot of stuff. What I did was I bought things that I thought the kids would be interested in. So I bought decks of cards that had pictures on them of the different things you'd find in in Peru itself. I bought sucking candies because they said something on them that I thought was interesting and they tasted different than what I would have. I bought my little llama that I carry on my keychain, but not a whole lot of stuff.
Did you get a sense that a lot of people indicated they were connected to the Incas, that they were the current?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
Some, and as a matter of fact, one of the things that I experienced, which wasn't a very good thing, to be honest.
Okay. Well, share it with the people. I like them to hear everything.
Yep. No. I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but it wasn't
Yep.
what I expected. Because some of the people who are visitors to the community, some are residents, 800 are residents.
Yep.
But some of them come in, there were 1,300, I think, altogether that are served by the community for health reasons and for educational reasons. And so some of the older kids learn things outside of the community that are not necessarily pro-American.
Okay.
And
Oh, really? They even brought up America? I'm surprised the United States would even be an issue.
well, guess what?
It was.
And for me, thank goodness I had a translator there that particular day, and I encouraged people to ask questions.
Yep.
Because part of what we want to do is we want to impress people with Americans being good people,
Yep.
being open and resilient ourselves. And so when I was asked about certain things that I thought were very derogatory to Americans, I quietly explained the right thing to them with my translator. But I was glad that they asked, because that's what they were taught outside.
Really?
And that's what they said. They didn't say, I believe. They said, I was taught.
Oh, so they're cognizant that that may not be the truth.
That's right. That's right.
No, oh, look at this. Isn't this pretty?
It was. It was. I mean, being outside in the dead of winter in Boston, and here I am in Miraflores, it was beautiful. It really was.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
Yep. Fountains and so forth. This park itself was quite lovely. That was a windmill of water. It was interesting because they had older people in one section and younger people in another. I don't think it was by design, but that's how it worked out. So you'll see as we go forward, this is one of the big churches. Lots of beautiful churches there. Beautiful.
Did they indicate to you that the churches had a lot of influence in day-to-day living there, or did you get the feeling not so much?
Well, I didn't talk to the people in Miraflores so much
Yep.
as I talked to the people at Sagrada Familia. So I didn't hear about the influence of church, to be honest.
Okay. That's
And there
okay.
wasn't a church on the grounds of
So
Sagrada.
they kept it kind of, it sounds to me, away from the church.
They may have had sessions, because we would go back, because we were only there the work day,
Yeah.
so it might have been on the
Because
weekend.
in a lot of these South American countries, the church is very much part of the small community.
It is.
Yeah.
It
You know,
is.
and they're involved with a lot of different things, but it sounds like this particular founder wanted this to be non-church related.
And
Period.
right, he wanted people to feel it was from the heart, their
Yeah.
heart, and they did.
This is a beautiful garden.
It is. It is.
See, I would never even think.
See, and then they had-
Lima. I would think to visit, but I wouldn't think of.
Well,
these
this is part of
outlines.
Lima. Miraflores.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Oh, this is a section of Lima.
It is.
Oh, it looks lovely.
And so here's the artist's work on display in that same park. It was fun. Some of the things that they showed were really colorful and fun. More and more. A lot of them were portraits, were supposed to be portraits of the children. This I loved. I sat there on the steps and I watched these people dancing. And this gentleman on the left-hand side was a little bit disabled, but everybody liked to dance with him for some reason.
Okay. Well, he made them look good.
Maybe so, maybe so. But it was one after the other would come up, and he would get right up there and dance with them. And it was beautiful, and the music was nice, too.
I like that.
And this one here is
Oh,
one of
he's
my
a-
favorites.
Yes, I can see he's quite a dancer, this fellow.
Well, and she's holding, they have a hanky dance, they call
Okay.
it. So both of them are holding a hanky. And they're going to join those hankies together as part of, there you go. Good fun. Good fun. And they're telling you, to watch your animals and be careful. It was clean again. This area was
It
beautiful.
looks very nice. Is this considered more of an upscale area?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yes, compared to where I was especially.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks very nice.
It is. It's lovely. And some of the restaurants there were charming. This was right in the center itself. And again, this is a woman who is leading people on tours at her
she's
church.
dressed up in all that.
She is. Yep. Good fun. And then we're going to go back to Ancon. And
Okay.
so we're heading back, and now we're seeing what we saw before,
The
more of the
shanty
shanty
town.
towns. Right.
Is that what they refer to it as?
I'm referring to it that
Okay.
way. They don't call it that. They call it the villages.
The villages. Okay.
Right. And there's going to be, you're going to see some of them go up on the high.
Oh, okay.
So you have the ones down low, and now you have the ones way up high. And these people were so protective of their properties. Even though we see it as shacks and stuff like that, they were so protective of their properties.
Do you know if they owned the
Yes.
they do own the property.
They're theirs.
Okay.
Right.
So it's private property and they like that.
They do. They do.
I don't know too much about the Peruvian government. I don't know if that came up in any of your learning. Are they capitalist? Are they market oriented? Or are they more socialist? I don't know anything.
No, it's more of the socialist.
It is, okay.
But again, as I said, what the influence on the children who are not part of this community was obvious in terms of the teachings, which might be somewhat Marxist.
Oh, you mean you felt that's where they were coming from, and that was the sense of anti-American?
A little bit,
Yeah.
yep. And not everybody had that experience, but the visitors who came in and spent time with us were the ones who talked about their teachings outside.
Yeah. I was telling you earlier, I was surprised. Amy Dane, who's been a guest of ours many times, did a show with us. She went to Iran for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And she said the one thing that surprised her was how much the people liked Americans.
Yes.
Liked America and liked Americans. She was shocked.
Right.
Because all we ever hear is death to America, death to Israel, and I assumed, if they ever saw me there, it would be death to Jack.
No, not so. But no, and waging peace is part of what Global Volunteers does.
Oh, really? They're involved in that?
Well, they want people to know Americans as good people.
So
who are
the
caring.
organization, even though it's global, does have a sense of wanting to promote the United States.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting.
Absolutely.
And they want to promote the United States. Oh, let me take you back to the pictures.
Okay, so now we're back at Sagrada Familia.
Yep.
The three, two of the medical people have left because they were only there for 1 week.
Yep.
The other medical person is in the clinic.
Okay.
And these are the people who are remaining. So we have Gail, Claire, Don, and Daniel. Daniel is the Peruvian gentleman who is our group leader.
Group leader.
Right. Don worked with me. His wife, I guess, is Spanish speaking and has done a lot of work with English as a foreign language, not as a second language, but as a foreign language. And so he wanted to work with me because that's the work I was doing while I was there. Claire worked with some of the younger children as well, and she's very crafty. She's a very talented woman. And Gail, you'll see later, Gail was doing virtually anything she could do. She worked with the little children. She helped with the furniture.
Well, quite honestly, these people look like very varied age, none too old and not super young, but the gal in the pinkish red shirt there looks relatively...
She's the youngest.
Yeah.
And Don
So
is...
you had quite
Don
a
is
variety
80.
of age. Oh, he was in his 80s?
Yep.
Really? Look
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Okay.
This is where we taught. So you can see Don in the background there.
Yep.
Okay. When I first arrived there, it wasn't set up this way. So we quickly pulled things together so we could have an area for kids to focus on. And that whiteboard in the back became very good because he's tall and he could write very high. So when we did different kinds of things for learning, he and I worked together as a team. These are some of the children that I taught or worked with. This little girl wanted to show her dog from home. And that was interesting because most of the animals that I saw were just wandering freely.
Okay.
And don't touch, don't touch. So we had the dogs and the cats just roaming around. But this dog had a little collar on.
Looks
and
like
he
a
was
schnauzer.
He was a domestic dog, right?
Yeah.
Now these children are part of a larger group. The girl at the far end was the oldest of the group, even though she looks young. And when I first met her, I was so shocked at how smart she was. She actually was a leader, if you will.
Let me ask you a question. Did the discussion ever come up of adoption, that some people want to adopt these children? Or
We never talked about that.
really?
It might have happened, but we never really discussed that.
Because I was going to say, I see, these are beautiful children.
Right.
You would think there would be a demand for adoption of the children.
And that's possible. But again, they're abused and abandoned, not necessarily orphaned.
Oh, so are you saying you think some go back to their parents?
The parents are in jail, or parents are, involved with drugs or whatever. So
Oh.
these children are being taken care of because
Oh,
their
so
home
it's
life
not-
is not a good life.
I got you. So it's almost like a foster care program for some,
It could be
but not a single foster parent. It's a group,
a community.
a community. Okay.
Here's my Don, right?
Interesting.
Don is a professor over in California, and I have to tell you,
If
everything.
he's 80, he looks terrific.
He does,
Yeah.
he does, and everything was a pun, everything was a joke, and he was good though, because he entertained the children, and they enjoyed that. This place looks like it's much more than it really is. It's a library, and it has a lot of books, but a lot of the books are, they were wet, they were dirty, they were whatever, but it's been set up so the kids have a lot to choose from, and I took a picture of this gal because she was wearing glasses, and I didn't see much of that there. So it meant that healthcare was really being extended and that she was being taken care of from that point of view.
Now, the Global Volunteers Organization, how often do you think they bring volunteers down to this community?
Well, we were the third group.
And
It had just started. So the partnership was a new one for Global Volunteers.
what about some of their other partnerships? How often do they generally have groups visiting a partner?
Quite often, actually.
So many, in other words, there could be a group coming every 3 weeks? Wouldn't be unrealistic?
Probably not quite that frequently because
But close.
the groups are staying for 1, 2, or 3 weeks themselves.
Yep.
So you need a gap in between to reset.
But there could be 8 to 10 trips a year, maybe.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
that's possible.
So I would think it would be a big plus to be on the Global Volunteers list of, we're going to work with you.
Well, if people are interested in looking into what those trips might be, they have a website,
globalvolunteers.org.
.org,
Yep.
and they show a lot of the choices and the different times of year that things are available, and how many weeks they might be. So those 2 women who left at the beginning, they were only there for 1 week. I was there for 2.
Yeah, but it's a nice, it's a different kind of travel.
It is a different
Yes.
kind of travel.
Yeah.
And it's heartfelt and heartwarming.
Oh,
That's
look at
that little girl that I was telling you about. She's 16 years old, and she looks little. And I think that was part of her challenge, was that she was seen as younger than she was. So when I told you at the beginning, I was surprised at how sharp she was, how bright she was. Well, she was, but she was a 16-year-old. So that I thought was pretty interesting. These little boys were buddies. Once the little boys came to one of our classes, they came to them again and again and again.
Oh, really? They liked learning.
They liked they liked the classes. And I think that this was a break in the schedule. This was their vacation time. And so they really enjoyed being in the class. That little boy on the right used to rub my hand. He used to like to sit next to me and rub my hand. So it was cute. And here we have them with their books. And they could just sit and relax for a little while, too. Everything didn't have to be intense for them. But what I found was because their energy level was different than the older kids, which it was, I did a lot of head, shoulders, knees and toes kind of stuff, and hokey pokey. Every time I saw that the energy level was too high.
Now, did they have a mess hall here?
They had a cafeteria.
Okay.
And everybody was very patient and waiting for
Everybody,
the food.
you said 800
They weren't
brothers
all-
and sisters and another 500 visitors, whatever.
Right.
So they were feeding 1,300 people a day?
Not
No,
all at once.
not all at once. So
When I was there, because it was a vacation time, there were like less than the 800, maybe closer to 400 or 600.
so some had gone home or to relatives, maybe?
Right.
Oh, so they do come and go a little bit
Just in a controlled way.
in a controlled way.
Right. One of the things that I thought was fabulous.
This is all very new to me. I've never heard of kind of this. I mean, I've always heard of structured orphanages, but
Right.
this sounds a little bit different.
This is very different.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. And what I thought was wonderful was how respectful the children were.
Yeah.
I mean, they just were so appreciative of us being there, and you felt it.
Did you find that when you were working with kids in in Minnesota, you said you went, or in Mississippi? Did you get that sense, or not as?
When I was in Minnesota, it was adults.
Okay.
So it was,
Different.
it was different. In that particular area, we had a community of 11,000, and there were like 26 languages and dialects. 26 languages and dialects in a community of 11,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But this was again, we have the dormitory, we have, the kids stayed here and love to decorate their doors. You're going to see a picture of that. And
I'm
now,
just amazed that they do all this with just private funding. So they must have quite a outreach that they're getting money, because it looks like a big project to run.
it's very big.
Yeah.
It's very, very big, but it is not, it doesn't, the money doesn't flow in, and it isn't government funded.
Yeah.
There might be something small that comes there, but that's all. So what we have here is we have different signs for around the area. Bill was good. He was telling me what they meant, but I wouldn't know otherwise. These are some of my kids. That little boy who rubbed my hand is in the middle.
Yeah.
The girl on the right-hand side, now that's a different kind of a thing. She came from outside. So when I talked about some of the kids coming into the community, she wanted to learn English. And she paid a small bit, whatever it was, so she could come in, but she was not a resident.
Okay, I guess a day student.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And these little boys, the one on the right, every class I held, he was in. Didn't matter who it was. He liked to be there, and that was a good thing. It was fun.
Everyone looks very happy there.
They were all, I love this one. This picture is great because that day we came in and a truck had come into the community with all sorts of donated clothes, and they put them all on the platform. And I expected the kids to just grab at them and have like tons that they wanted to own.
Like Filene's basement.
Like
used to be.
Filene's basement used to be, is right. Oh God, especially in the bridal gowns that they used to have.
Yep.
But that wasn't what happened here. The kids went through and maybe found one, maybe two pieces that they thought were good, and then you can see on the right-hand side there's a bag, and they started to repackage them for other places.
Really? Okay.
And gave them back, right? So they only took what they really felt they needed, and otherwise it was going back. They weren't going to just take more than they needed. They weren't being, overly indulgent. This is one of my plant pictures. Now, what you're going to see after this is you're going to see a video,
Okay.
which you'll see it.
Yep.
They had been planting, just like everybody else, in the ground, a little bit of
Potatoes.
this. Potatoes, right.
That's what I'm going to remember with you. Every time I'm going to see you, Lois, I'm going to say,
dear.
Lois, where are the potatoes?
4,000 kinds of potatoes.
That's
But
fascinating.
But what Global Volunteers did was they brought in earth boxes.
Okay.
Okay, and the earth boxes, well,
I see. They got their shovels.
I'll tell you about the earth boxes afterwards then. But the kids found out that we don't tell them what to do. They tell us what they need. We strike a contract, if you will, and we only go where we're invited.
Yep.
And we only do what they want us to do. So in this case, what happened was we came in and we said,
Well, which is nice. So what you're saying is we are volunteers who are being welcomed, and there's a structure for how we volunteer.
exactly.
Yep.
And we want to lend a hand to
Yep.
help you be more productive or whatever. So after these plants, and we saw, you're going to find out about earth boxes, okay, which are wonderful, here we go,
Yep.
a wonderful way for poor countries
Yep.
or countries that have poor soil or poor conditions to grow in a controlled way.
So what is it? You have boxes sent from America, or?
Well, these are prepared boxes. I mean,
Yep.
they have the fertilizer, they have the
Soil?
the soil. The thing is, getting it through customs is the big deal.
So they're coming from the U.S. or
Yep.
different countries?
Coming from the U.S.
Oh, okay. And they're ready to be planted.
And they're ready to be planted, but with some attention.
I got you.
But they require less fertilizer. They require less water.
Isn't that
They're
interesting?
designed to be that way. This particular class, when I said 8 to 30, that guy on the right-hand side with the gray jersey is 30 years old. That's why
Okay.
I said that, because I did have a group, groups of different aged kids. And some of these were just visiting because it was a vacation time for them. And the gentleman straight ahead in the white, he is starting a business with two of the other people from the community, a perfume business. And so
Really?
he was asking me business questions. And it was great. I mean, it was really
Do they
great.
have a lot of flowers there? Is that why you think that's the business he selected?
I don't know. I don't think that he's making the perfumes as much
Okay.
as refactoring them or redistributing
Sounds
them.
like a little bit of an unusual business but whatever.
Well, and now this is fun. Because we were there at they were welcoming us and they were celebrating our being there.
Yep.
So they dug a hole and they put the food that they were cooking in the ground and it cooked all day. And then at the end of the day, we gathered together and they took it out.
Oh, kind of like the Hawaiians do with the
I guess.
luau.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is in the ground, though.
Okay.
I mean, and most of what's in there is white corn, potatoes.
Potatoes again.
They did have some meats, not a lot.
Yep.
But they did have some meats.
I think they do a terrific chicken, the Peruvians. Some kind. Oh, but is that a grilled? I don't know. They do some kind of grilled.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yes.
We didn't have that experience. What we did during the day was we ate with the community. At night, when we went back to Ancon, we ate in a restaurant.
All right.
And I provided wine one night, so it was my treat.
Well, they probably have nice wine in Peru.
They do. So
Now, these are some of the kids.
some of the kids, and you saw before, some of them with their shovel,
Yep.
they were cleaning up the place to make it look even better because they appreciate us being there, and they wanted to show us that they cared.
Now, how did you like this versus like Costa Rica or your trip to Cuba with the same organization? Did you find these kids friendlier or all the kids have been friendly?
When there were kids, they were friendly,
Okay,
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yep. And on the right-hand side, that's one of the medics, one of the people who was a doctor.
The woman with the red hair and the blue dress?
Yes.
Okay, she's a medic.
Her name is Penny.
Yep.
And
She's from the States?
she is.
Okay.
She is. And this is one of my classes, one of the classes. And I think I told you that little boy on the right-hand side was in most of the classes. His name was also Miguel. We had a few Miguels there. But they just were very happy. And you can see they've been now with us for 2 weeks. So we have a different relationship and we can take pictures. And they're okay with that. And now he's saying goodbye. That little boy was very funny. See, I have a map on the table there. I brought maps to show them east, west, South America, North America, so that we could talk about it. At the end, we hung maps up so that when we left, they had them to look at, and they were looking at them. So that was really good. That little boy, every time I put something down, he would turn it the other way. It had to be in a particular way. His name was Angel.
Look how you remember all the names.
And that girl in the back, you see?
Yep.
She used to be part of the community, and she came back to refresh her English. And she helped me also with tutoring, translating.
Did you hear anything that the kids who had grown up there, and once they got productive and into their own lives, did they tend to want to donate back to the community? Did you hear anything like that, friends of the community or?
That's a good question. What I saw was they donated their time.
Okay, that's okay.
But
Time
I
is
don't
valuable.
know. I mean, these are poor people.
Yep.
even if they left the community, most of them are poor people. And they might have brought
Just
in...
the fact that you saw them come back like that woman and donate time tells me they continue to have a relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, I was in the orphanage and I can't wait to get out of here and I'm not going back.
No, and the hugs were there. The hugs. I mean, you know, when we left and we were going to leave, I mean, it was beautiful. It was a wonderful
Yeah, you
feeling.
sound like you were very fulfilled with this trip.
I was.
Now, do they have a trip coming up again for you? Have you looked at anything for the future with the volunteers?
I will look into things.
Okay.
Okay. I've been in 7 programs now, and right now I'm just pleased to be able to promote what they do so others can get engaged.
Did you see one that kind of excites you, that got you a little bit of interest?
Well, there were quite a few that, I mean, at one point I was looking at their trip to China.
Oh.
You know, that was interesting. And you mentioned Tanzania.
So they do Tanzania? Oh.
They do as well.
So would you say they do literally all over the world?
Yes. But where they're invited.
That's okay.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because we come with certain expectations. And like when we were in Costa Rica, as an example, you don't tell them what to do or how to do it. You do it their way.
Yeah.
And it might not be what you would think would be the best way, but it's their way, because when you leave, that's the way it's going to go.
But it sounds to me like you have had a wonderful experience with this organization.
I did, and I have.
I'm so glad you may want to send them a copy, seriously, of the show.
Yes.
And see if they want to use snippets of it
I will plan,
to promote their
I will
organization.
Plan that.
Yeah, because I had never heard of your organization.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing that I may want to take an interesting trip somewhere where it would be this kind of help.
Well, you know, one of the things that also is people go as individuals, people go as families.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I am going to thank you, Lois. It was a pleasure. And to our audience, thank you for watching. And if you're a family or a single or a couple, this volunteer organization might just be for you.
You bet. Thank you.